He claimed to have had a kidney transplant, and it was like $4,000 a month. I was really worried about him. I thought the man was going to die.
This is the story of how a grieving widow found what felt like a second chance at love online, and how that feeling was manufactured, maintained, and monetized by a stranger she never once met in person. 4 months, hundreds of messages, phone calls, a kidney transplant, a hospital in Africa, and $300,000 wired away piece by piece to someone who was never sick, never a contractor, and never in love with Janet Cook. On this channel, we don't just report what happened, we show you exactly how it was built, the psychology, the timeline, the specific moments where a lonely widow became a target. Not to embarrass Janet, because she went public so other people wouldn't have to go through what she went through. Stay with me on this one. Janet Cook spent 17 years without her husband. 17 years is a long time to reorganize your life around absence, to eat alone, to make decisions alone, to wake up and go to sleep without the person who was supposed to be there. Janet managed it. She built a life. She kept going. But loneliness has a weight to it that doesn't get lighter with time. Janet was honest about that. She told a reporter plainly, "I got lonely, and I spent a lot of time on the computer playing games."
I got lonely, and I spent a lot of time on the computer playing games.
There's no shame in that sentence. It's just true. It's the truth of millions of older adults living alone in America right now. She decided to try a dating website, just to look.
And I just happened to go to the date site.
Match.com, one of the most recognized names in online dating, a platform that has facilitated real relationships for real people for decades. Janet wasn't doing anything unusual. She was doing what the platform exists for. She was 76 years old, still looking for companionship, still open to the possibility that life had something good left to offer. That is not vulnerability. That is courage. The scammer found her on her very first day on the site. The man's profile said he was a contractor from Virginia. He was on Match.com, which meant he had passed whatever screening the platform required to create an account. He looked real. His photo looked real. His words looked real. And his words were good. Janet said it herself. He said sweet things. He was charming.
I liked him because he said sweet things, and he was very charming.
After a lifetime of real love and 17 years of its absence, receiving attention from someone who seemed genuinely interested in her felt exactly like what it was designed to feel like. This is the first stage of what investigators now call a romance scam, and more specifically, the variant known as pig butchering. The name is ugly, but accurate. Scammers invest significant time and emotional energy into fattening a relationship before the slaughter. They don't ask for money on day one, they court, they call, they send good morning messages, they ask about your day, they remember details, they make you feel seen. For 4 months, this man and Janet built what felt like a relationship. Emails, phone calls, consistent contact. The fact that they never met in person was explained away. He was busy, working, traveling. That's normal for a contractor. They'd meet when the time was right. The emotional connection Janet felt was already real. The physical meeting was just a formality. Then the story shifted. He was somewhere in Africa. He'd gotten sick, seriously sick. He was in a hospital.
According to the story, he became very ill, and he was in the hospital.
And then came the detail designed to trigger every maternal and romantic instinct Janet had. He needed a kidney transplant. He was going to die, and he needed her help.
He claimed to have had a kidney transplant, and it was like $4,000 a month.
$4,000 a month. That was the cost of his care. Could she help? Just until he got home. Just until this was over. Just because she was the only person he trusted. The framing was rescue, not extraction. Janet wasn't being asked to invest in a scheme. She was being asked to save the life of a man she had spent 4 months falling for. Saying no meant watching him die. The money started at $4,000 a month. Then there were additional expenses, medical complications, travel costs, legal fees to get him home. Each new payment arrived with a new story, a new urgency, a new reason why stopping now would mean abandoning him at the worst possible moment. This is the architecture of the long con. Every payment is positioned as the last one. Every crisis is resolved just enough to introduce the next one. The The victim isn't sending money to a scammer. In their mind, they are supporting someone they love through an impossible situation. The emotional logic is completely coherent. It just happens to be built on nothing. Janet kept paying. The amounts added up. $4,000 became $8,000, became $20,000, became something she couldn't track anymore without feeling sick. By the time she understood what was happening, really understood, not just suspected, $300,000 was gone. Her entire life savings, the money she had accumulated across decades of work, the financial foundation that was supposed to carry her through the rest of her life. $300,000 sent to a man who was never in Africa, never sick, and whose name she never actually knew. The scammer's access point was Match.com. Janet went back to the platform with that information. She wanted accountability. She told the reporter she believed the site had a lot of responsibility for allowing it to happen, for not policing their platform.
I think they have a lot of responsibility that they're allowing it to go on and not policing it at all.
Match.com declined to be interviewed but issued a statement noting that users must pledge never to send money to other members and to report anyone who asks. A policy that existed, that Janet didn't know about, that the scammer violated the moment he sent the first message asking for help. A policy posted in terms of service is not protection. Janet Cook is proof of that. Take 2 seconds right now. If you're watching this and thinking about someone in your life who's alone, who's online, who might answer a message from someone charming because they're lonely and they deserve not to be, that person needs to see this video. I'm Jack, this is Love or Lie. Subscribe and share this with one person before you keep watching. You might be doing them the most important favor of the year. Now let me tell you what Janet was left with. Janet Cook is 76 years old and she has no life savings. The money that was supposed to cover her medical care, her housing, her independence, her ability to make choices without asking anyone for anything, it's gone. Sent in monthly installments to a fiction. What remains is the math of what that means for a 76-year-old woman living alone. She tried to get some of it back. She pursued Match.com directly, arguing that the platform bore responsibility for the fraud that occurred on it. The response was a corporate statement. No interview, no accountability, no refund. In 2014, the year this story was reported, Americans lost over $82 million to romance scams in just the second half of the year. $82 million reported. ARP and law enforcement both agreed the real number was likely significantly higher because the majority of victims never report. The reason is the same word that comes up every time this subject is discussed: embarrassing. Janet used that word about herself. She went on camera anyway. She told a reporter from a major national news outlet what happened to her in specific, honest detail because she decided that her embarrassment was worth less than someone else's safety. That is not the behavior of someone who was stupid. That is the behavior of someone with more integrity than the platform that failed her and the man who robbed her. As of February 2026, there is no public update on Janet Cook's situation after this broadcast. She was pursuing Match.com at the time. We don't know whether she recovered anything, whether she found the companionship she was looking for, or how she's doing now. If you know, leave it in the comments. Janet was brave enough to tell her story publicly. She deserves a follow-up. Janet Cook said something at the end of her interview that stayed with me. We're all vulnerable in the right situation. Not, I was stupid. Not, I should have known better. She had moved past that. She arrived at something truer and more important. A recognition that the right combination of loneliness, hope, and manufactured trust can reach anyone. Not just widows, not just seniors. Anyone who has ever wanted to believe that someone genuinely cared about them. The scammer found Janet on her first day on the site. He spent 4 months building something she believed in completely. He used her grief, her generosity, and her capacity for love as the mechanism of her destruction. There's nothing naive about any of those qualities. They're the best parts of being human. And they were stolen from her alongside the $300,000. Janet kept dating after this.
I wouldn't trust anybody on it without doing some kind of background checking and making sure that they're legitimate. We're all vulnerable in the right situation.
That detail matters more than any warning I could give you. If this story made you think about someone you love, share it with them today, not tomorrow. today. That's the only thing that actually helps. There's another story coming next week that starts exactly the same way. A message, a connection, a feeling of being chosen. It ends somewhere you won't expect. I'll see you then.